These guys embrace me. They believe in my talents. They believed in me, and I'm just going to give these guys everything I have because I know what's at stake. I know what they gave up for me to be here, and I'm going to do what it takes for us to win. I told them, I said, you're my new rivalry now. Like, I don't got Lane no more. It's going to be you. I'm going to see you twice a year, so we might as well buckle up. It's going to be a long one. So
I don't know if you guys have been living under a rock, but within the past 10 days, the entire landscape of the NFC was shifted by the Dallas Cowboys trading their best defensive player and honestly their best overall player to the Green Bay Packers for Kenny Clark and 2 first-round picks. And almost instantaneously, from the very moment that the NFL kicked off on that Thursday night when the Cowboys took on the Philadelphia Eagles, Micah Parsons' presence or lack thereof was felt almost immediately. The Cowboys had some trouble generating pressure on Jalen Hurts, and apparently Jerry Jones made this trade because Micah Parsons wasn't so good at stopping the run, and he felt like there were other holes on our team that needed to be filled, so trading our best overall player for 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark was supposed to help the Cowboys stop the run.
This was a move to get us successful in the playoffs. This was a move to be better on defense, stopping the run. This was a move to, if we get behind, not be run on. And it was a deliberate move, a well thought out move to make this happen.
Through it all, I was trying to figure out why the Dallas Cowboys would make such a trade, because it went against almost every single prediction I made. I mean, leading up to the day that the trade happened, yes, I started photoshopping Micah Parsons in a Packers jersey because I felt like the trade was inevitable. But in the very beginning, I thought this was all smoke and mirrors because at the end of the day, Jerry Jones's handbook was always to drag on these contract negotiations as long as possible so he could, I don't know, get more people to talk about the Cowboys.
I do believe if we're not being looked at, then I'll do my part to get us looked at. The beautiful thing for networks, if you will, streaming companies is that the NFL is a 365-day-a-year interest factor. A lot of programming, you have to spend as much to make it, to promote it, as you do to make it. Cowboys are a soap opera 365 days.
The streaming will begin
when it gets slow, I'll stir it up. But there's something more there. There's sizzle, there's emotion, and if you will, there's controversy. That controversy is good stuff in terms of keeping and having people's attention.
And then eventually reset the market at the position and keep his high-end talent. But it seems like Jerry Jones had some buyer's remorse the last time he did this. The last individual that he dragged on negotiations with for this long was Dak Prescott. He ended up paying Dak Prescott the most money in the entire NFL, which, by the way, 1 year later, he is still the highest paid player in the NFL. It just goes to show how much of a master negotiator Jerry Jones is. But earlier on in the offseason, you could tell that Jerry had some buyer's remorse about this deal.
I remember signing a player for the highest paid at the position in the league, and he got knocked out 2/3 of the year, Dak Prescott. So there's a lot of things you can think about when you, just as the player does, when you're thinking about committing and guaranteeing money.
So the only way I was able to rationalize this trade was the Cowboys knew something that we probably didn't know, because Jerry Jones never trades his high-end talent. Now, let's talk about how this trade affected the Cowboys, right? I mean, Micah Parsons himself said during his introductory press conference with the Packers,
I never thought I'd be traded, you know. But, you know, that's the harsh reality.
So when the Cowboys played their season opener against the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, the entire world saw what they had given up. The Philadelphia Eagles have the best offensive line in the NFL, and their star left tackle Jordan Mailata couldn't even hide his excitement. I mean, he said it's a sigh of relief. The last 4 or 5 years that we played the Dallas Cowboys, we've had to come up with a game plan because Mike is a gamer. It is a sigh of relief that you don't have to plan like that anymore. That relief would turn to reality onto the field. So here's what the numbers showed us from that Thursday night football game. Dallas defenders racked up 20 total pressures, which is a fairly positive sign. However, half of those pressures were either unblocked or cleanup pressures. In other words, they were getting there late after the damage was already done. Jalen Hurts' average time to throw was an astronomical 3.67 seconds. For context, anything above 3 seconds in the NFL is an eternity. Quarterbacks usually have to get rid of the ball in 2.5 seconds. Jalen Jalen Hurts was literally having a picnic back there. And what did Hurts do with all that time? He had the opportunity to scan the field, and as I'm sure you guys know if you watch the game, he would pick up 62 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns on 14 carries. His 9 scrambles for 62 yards are his second most in a game of his career. Without Micah Parsons' speed to chase him down, Hurts was able to extend plays at will. Each of Hurts' last 3 scrambles before halftime went for 9 yards, and an 8-yard touchdown. The Cowboys were doing a decent job in coverage, but their defensive line wasn't getting home to Hurts fast enough. The Cowboys managed just 1 sack the whole game, and their pass rush earned a lowly 53.1 Pro Football Focus grade as a team. What about the individual that the Cowboys traded for? Well, to be fair, Kenny Clark was actually impressive. He had 5 tackles, 4 of which came against the run when he was on the field. The Cowboys only allowed 2.8 rushing yards as opposed to 6.6 rushing yards when he was off of the field. Think about that. That's nearly 4 more yards per carry when Kenny Clark took a breather. And this was after being with the team for less than a week. But here's the thing about football, you can stop the run all you want, but if you can't rush the passer in today's NFL, you're absolutely cooked. And the Cowboys were absolutely cooked. They lost 24-20, but to also be fair to the Cowboys, they could have easily won this game. This video is primarily about the Micah Parsons trade and how it impacts the Green Bay Packers and the Dallas Cowboys, but I could take a brief detour here to mention how CeeDee Lamb had 3 drops. The Cowboys had 4 opportunities to take the lead in the second half, but every time they failed. So on one hand, you could say the fact that they were able to hang on tight against the Philadelphia Eagles 24-20 should make you feel optimistic going into the future. At the same time, you could say that they traded one problem, which is their inability to stop the run, for another, which is their inability to get after the quarterback, but at least they have 2 first-round picks and save a bunch of salary cap space when they take on the new problem, which is getting after the quarterback. Now, how about the Green Bay Packers? Well, on Sunday, September 7th in Lambeau Field, while the Cowboys were licking their wounds from Thursday night, Micah Parsons was about to remind everyone why he's worth $188 million. Now, before we get to that, I have something really cool to tell y'all. Week 1 has already passed, and we've already made $1,000 since the NFL season started by leveraging PrizePicks' free square promo, and now we have another free square for week 2. Taylor Swift's fiance just needs 1 receiving yard for his square to hit. And no, I'm not talking about the hit he laid on Xavier Worthy. I'm saying for his square to cash. And here's my plan to turn your free sign-up money and lineups into $150. So first, to get the $50 in free lineups, you need to go to the description down below and sign up for PrizePicks, or use my promo code Mikerophone when you sign up so this can be risk-free for you. Then make sure you select Travis Kelce over half a receiving yard. I'm taking Tua's over on pass yards versus the New England Patriots because I don't think Tua's gonna have another bad game, and the New England Patriots defense hasn't won me over. I have Brock Purdy going over on his passing yards versus New Orleans. He was able to do this in week 1 versus the Seahawks, and he had a horrible game in week 1 versus the Seahawks, so I think he easily clears this. If you just signed up, you put in $25, it's risk-free for you guys for a chance to win $150 in real cash. Now, if you've already signed up, I have you covered as well. My Discord community has already been profiting like crazy as a result of this new season, and if you want to join, just click on the WAP link in the description down below. And thank you, PrizePicks, for today's sponsor. All week, the big question was whether Micah Parsons would even play. Parsons was dealing with an L4-L5 facet joint sprain. This isn't just being sore, this is the kind of injury that can sideline players for weeks. Reports suggested that he might need an epidural injection just to suit up. And the Packers just invested $188 million and 2 first-round picks in a guy who might not even be able to play. The pressure was immense, and this was not going to be an easy task. When the Lions took the field for their first offensive series, they had all-pro right tackle Penei Sewell ready to neutralize whoever the Packers threw at them. So it's 3rd and 7 at their own 26-yard line, and they were looking for some already much-needed momentum after Jordan Love absolutely walked them down to open the game with a score. So naturally, Detroit lines up in a simple shotgun formation and an obvious passing down, and Green Bay plans accordingly. There are 5 down linemen on the play, all ready to rush the passer, and as Jared Goff gets more and more ready to snap the ball, you'll see Packers linebacker Quay Walker sneak down to the line of scrimmage, showing blitz as well. Green Bay was going to bring the heat on third down, but once the ball was snapped, it looked a lot different than anticipated. The edge rusher on the weak side of the field dropped back into coverage, but Green Bay was still rushing 5 with Quay Walker creating pressure in the A-gap. Still, there's one thing I want you to notice about this play, and that's how easily Micah Parsons gets himself into the backfield to make a play. Lined up on all-pro right tackle Penei Sewell, it's never going to be easy, but this is about as good as you can get against a guy like that. Parsons explodes off the line of scrimmage, catching Sewell before he can properly get into position, before using that leverage advantage and the pure power he has as an edge rusher to push Sewell to the side and sneak right past him, making Jared Goff as uncomfortable as possible and forcing him to roll out of the pocket and force a check down, which in turn ended the series for the Lions. Now we're just getting started. I mean, the next play I want to show you is, ironically enough, another 3rd and 7. But this time, Detroit is in a much better position. Down 2 scores with a minute left in the half, putting any points on the board would be huge. And they seemed poised to do so with the ball being all the way down at the Green Bay 16-yard line. But Micah Parsons decided that he didn't want that to happen and created a catastrophe for Detroit. Once again, Parsons was lined up on Penei Sewell, just like he was on almost every snap he played. But this time he had arguably his most impressive win of the game. Micah once again absolutely explodes off the line of scrimmage and hits Sewell with almost the same exact move that he hit him with on the last play, but with a different approach this time. Instead of using his speed to create power and move Sewell to the side, Micah instead uses the threat of his power to force Sewell to plant his feet. As soon as that happens, Parsons uses a filthy swim move to cut to the inside of Sewell and finds himself rushing directly at Jared Goff's chest with nobody in between the two. Well, Jared Goff is a veteran of the game and usually doesn't make this decision, but with Micah Parsons running at my face, I don't think I think straight either. The smart thing to do would just to be take the sack and take your 3 points heading into halftime, but instead, Goff sees Parsons and forces a throw to Amon-Ra St. Brown short of the sticks, which ends up being picked off by second-year safety Evan Williams, costing Detroit momentum and more importantly, leaving them with only 3 points on the board instead of 6. And finally, I'm going to show you the play that made everyone realize that Micah Parsons is indeed healthy and that he is indeed here to play. At this point in the game, Detroit is desperate, and because of that, Jared Goff is forced to make plays and keep the ball in the air to kill as much clock as possible, which results in this. The ball gets snapped into Detroit territory on a normal looking 2nd and 10, but after the snap is where things get wild. This time, Micah's lined up on the left tackle, Taylor Decker, and decides that he wants to use his speed and take Decker inside to catch him off guard. Well, that doesn't happen. Decker plays it perfectly, and it also doesn't help that the defensive tackle directly next to Micah decided that he wanted to rush to the outside of his man, creating a bit of a cluster at the line. This cluster does move the line back, however, and once we get about 6 yards past the original line of scrimmage, Jared Goff decides that he's seen enough. He rolls out to his right because in his mind he has as much time as possible to make a play over there because everybody is caught up behind him. Well, he was wrong. As soon as Goff starts to roll out and look downfield, you see Micah Parsons emerge from the beefy trenches pile like someone straight out of a horror movie, bursting out of the scrummage with speed and ferocity. And of course, because Micah Parsons is a freak of nature, he chases Goff with ease to create his first sack as a Green Bay Packer, sending Lambeau into a frenzy in the process. And I gotta admit, this pose that he does at the end is iconic. So I'm gonna read some stats, and bear in mind, I'm a huge Dallas Cowboy fan and it kills me to say this, but Micah only played in 29 defensive snaps, 45% of Green Bay's defensive snaps because of his back injury, and he still was everywhere. The Packers held Pro Bowl running back Jahmyr Gibbs to 2.6 yards per touch after he averaged 6.4 yards per touch last season. So let me summarize all this for you guys. On Thursday night, without Parsons, the Cowboys generated 20 pressures but only 1 sack, allowed Hurts 3.67 seconds to throw, let Hurts rush for 62 yards and 2 TDs, earned a 53.1 Pro Football Focus pass rush grade, and lost 24-20 at home. On Sunday afternoon, with Parsons only available for 45% of their snaps, the Packers dominated with consistent pressure despite Parsons playing limited snaps, held Detroit to 13 points, which bear in mind they averaged 33.2 last season, limited Detroit to 3.8 yards per play, and won 27-13 in dominant fashion. Following the game, Micah Parsons would say this about his new team.
I can't lie, it gave me chills. This environment, the first time how they embraced me, the fans. This was one-on-one.
He also gave us a scary insight to what this pass rush is going to look like.
Yeah, Cheetah. Oh, it's gonna be, bro. It's gonna be so good. And I'm telling you, I think Vanessa's gonna have his best year yet this year. I'm gonna make sure of it. That guy, he's a very selfless player. Like, he's very selfless. He's one of them guys that can go anywhere. He plays the run. He does everything. I'm going to make sure that guy gets as many plays as possible. I believe in him, and I told him, I said, I think you can be like a Cameron Wake. You can be like a Julius Peppers. You're a 4-5 guy, and it's time for you to show it.
And, of course, he reflected on his final moments with the Dallas Cowboys.
This last 6 months was super draining, super toxic for everyone. It's something that, I don't think no player should have to go through. I think players' fate should be decided earlier. I think the fact that I was traded a week before the season, it was really outrageous and rough. It's something where I could have been with these guys getting better and better, and we could have had probably even more dominant start, if that was the decision we were going to make. So I'm just happy that's behind. These guys embrace me. They believe in my talents. They believed in me, and I'm just going to give these guys everything I have because I know it's at stake. I know what they gave up for me to be here, and I'm going to do what it takes for us to win.
Since being drafted in 2021, Parsons leads the NFL with 335 QB pressures, despite ranking 30th in pass rush snaps. He has a 21.1 pressure percentage in his career. This is the highest since 2021. That's not just good, that's historic efficiency. And the Dallas Cowboys just handed that to one of their biggest rivals that kept them out of the conference championship over the past decade. When looking at Dallas's defense with Parsons from recent years, the Cowboys were the best defense in the NFL when he was on the field and the worst when he wasn't. This isn't even hyperbole, it's statistical fact. Before the trade, the Packers were 20-1 favorites to win the Super Bowl. After following this massive trade, they're now the 6th choice at 14-1. And of course, this is the way I'm coping with it, but the Cowboys dropped from 50-1 to 60-1. After the game, Parsons had a message for Penei Sewell that should terrify the rest of the NFC North.
I told him, I said, you're my new rivalry now. Like, I don't got Lane no more. It's going to be you. I'm going to see you twice a year, so we might as well buckle up. It's going to be a long one. So
let me know in the comment section down below, because I know we've been going back and forth in regards to this trade, and it has been a gigantic roller coaster. We went from Parsons shockingly being traded to the Packers, to him potentially having an injury risk, to him making an incredible debut, and ladies and gentlemen, we're just getting started. The Dallas Cowboys face off against the Green Bay Packers in Week 4, in a game that I'm personally not looking forward to at all. So if you're a Packers fan or a Cowboys fan, let me know what you guys think about this trade now in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I don't know if you guys heard, Ryan Clark embarrassed himself so badly that he might be out of ESPN soon. We have a completely separate video on that. I'm going to leave it in the end screen and I'll meet you guys there. I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.